Day 730 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all, we're back again. Another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. And today we have question number 2395. Find subarrays with equal sum. The difficulty level is easy, so you already know we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as well. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, hype, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go on and check out that link in the description so you can get you some. Now let's see what the question says. You are given a zero-index integer array nums. Determine whether there exist two subarrays of length 2 with equal sum. Note that the two subarrays must begin at different indices. Return true if these subarrays exist and false otherwise. A subarray is a contiguous, non-empty sequence of elements within an array. All right, y'all, so that may seem a little bit confusing at first, so let's go ahead and take a look at these examples just to make sure that we are doing this problem correctly. So, in example 1, we have our input nums equals an array of integers 4, 2, and 4. Our output is true. Explanation says the subarrays with elements 4, 2, and 2, 4 have the same sum of 6. So, just to break this down one step further, we are looking for two subarrays in this array that have the same sum when we add them together. Those subarrays need to be of length 2. So in this case, we can create this subarray. As you can see, this has a length of 2, 4, and 2. Those are two numbers. That's why it's called a length of 2. And then this also here, right here, 2 and 4 has a length of 2 with 2 and 4. When we add 2 plus 4, that equals 6. When we add 4 plus 2, that equals 6. It says right here, note that the two subarrays must begin at different indices. So this subarray begins at indices 0. This subarray begins at indices 1. That's why it's valid. That's why the output is true. Now, just in case that didn't make sense, let's take a look at example 2. So in example 2, our input nums equals an array of integers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The output is false. It says no two subarrays of size 2 have the same sum. So in this case, we might say this has a sum of 3 has a size 2. This has a sum of 3, but that's not a size 2. That's not of length 2. That's of length 1, right? It has to be of length 2. And 3 plus 4 is not equal to 1 plus 2. Just like 2 plus 3 is not equal to 4 plus 5. So, or whatever other subarrays we may be able to create. So the output is false. Now, just in case that didn't make sense, let's take a look at example 3. In example 3, we have our input nums equals an array of integers 0, 0, 0. The output is true. Explanation says the subarray nums of 0, nums of 1, and nums of 1 and nums of 2 have the same sum of 0. So that's similar to example 1. This subarray right here has the same sum as this subarray right here. It says, note that even though the subarrays have the same content, the two subarrays are considered different because they are in different positions in the original array. Boom, y'all. So I hope that makes sense to y'all. And now that we understand the question, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution. Solution is not that difficult at all. Now, sorry, y'all. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a set to store the sum of consecutive subarrays of length 2, and this will be used quickly to check if a sum has already been seen. So we'll just declare a variable called sums, and we'll set that equal to a set of integers. So set less than and greater than, put the parentheses. Boom. Now we're going to iterate through the array, stopping at the second to last element since we are always looking at pairs. So we're going to say for I in 0 dot dot less than nums dot count minus 1. We're going to open up the bracket and we're going to compute the sum of the current subarray of size 2. So then we're going to say let sum equal nums square bracket I plus nums square bracket I plus 1. If this sum has already been seen, we found two subarrays with the same sum and will return true. So then we'll come down here and we'll say if sums dot contains, open of the parentheses, sum. Come outside of that, open up the brackets, we could just return true. Boom. Otherwise, we're going to store the sum for future comparison. So we'll come underneath this and we'll say sums dot insert, open up the parentheses, pass in sum. And if no duplicate sums were found, then we return false by coming down here and we can say return false, y'all. Boom. That's all she wrote. Let's give it a run. Make sure it runs properly before we submit it. Okay, let's see. Let's remove this U, turn that into an N, and run it again. See what that does. Okay, it's accepted, so let's go ahead and submit it. Make sure it's still accepted after we submit it. Boom, and look at that, y'all. 0 milliseconds beats 100% of users. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I like to see, y'all. So, with that being said, I hope y'all learned something today, and I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.